we are live. Sorry for the delays. Yes, we were just having a little bit of connection problem with the honorable, but you will never fail us. He is here. He is here. Anybody out there? Go. Mwah. He's back. Yes. Honorable Natalie, you guys can see us and clearly. Go. Ngalo no kate mpela. Ala connect from the hospital. But we finally made it. Malo quick up well. Yeah. It's a music well, because we are like. Yeah. All right. Anybody out there? Shout out. Yes. Yes. We don't need honorable Olivia. Yes, we love you. So Bantaba Network, we are back. We are back once every Sunday. Could you imagine? It's a special thing. Ndaga file control them. Lecturer. Yes. The actual lecturer. Honorable is here, our former Minister of Interior. Hey, he's a great pillar for the 2016 coalition. He will drive us and bring us in the front. So how about that? We are here, we are running. Somebody give me a shout out. Give me a shout out. Yes, give us a shout out. Yes, we are running. Anybody out there? Honorable is here. Honorable. Okay, I'm gonna stop the music. Honorable, salam alaikum.
Very proud of you, sister.
Thank you. Today you are our lecturer today. Binto Bantaba Network. All we do is education. We hear we hear all kind of stuff about the Gambia, the politics, and today you are our lecturer. And you are welcome, Honorable Mai Ahmad. He's here. Okay, so he's here. We're gonna start the conversation since we've been behind a little bit. Y'all be patient, okay? Yes. Shout out, yes. Shout out, Honorable.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. To Binto Bantaba Network. It's just when you say we are the from the village. People from the city, don't take me wrong. I grew up in the city too, but we are the grassroots, and there are so many questions we want to ask. I may not ask all of it, but if you have something to ask and it's important to the Gambians, please you bring it up. So you are welcome. Our motto is respect. Respect, change. Please, we give respect to the Honorable for what he has to say. Thank you, Honorable. You are welcome. You can talk to our family now.
Thank you very much. What language are you going to use?
English.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable, who is Honorable Ahmad Mahfad?
I think, thank you very much. I want to thank you enormously for the honor of inviting me to this very important program. I feel very privileged to appear at your respectable program. You have gathered the tremendous integrity of a period conducting such a very important national service. So I want to thank you in person and congratulate you for the success you have achieved so far.
Thank you.
And how proud I am of a great Gambian sister like you, trying to get our people ignorant and increasing our consciousness. Having said that, I think the most difficult question for me ever always has been, who are you? It's always easier for me to talk about others than talking about myself.
Okay.
I don't want to run the risk of and at the same time, I don't want to give inadequate information.
Okay.
So what I want you and the listeners to understand has always been the most difficult question for
For
talk about yourself. It has been very difficult for me.
okay.
Okay. I am my Ahmad.
Mm-hmm.
I hail from the Upper River region, the extreme northeast of the Upper River region, which
Mm-hmm.
is called Bolombako,
Okay.
in a place called Wuli, in the district, Wuli district, that is Wuli constituency, in Nyakoi area, specifically a village called Karawan.
Okay.
That's really where I hail from.
Uh-huh.
I was named after my grandfather,
Mm-hmm.
who is Ahmad, and then giving the name Mai in order to distinguish him
Uh-huh.
from my Ahmad, who are also in the house, in the family.
Okay.
So, contrary to popular belief, those people who believe that Mai is a Kanyalang name,
Uh-huh.
Alhamdulillah, my mother has lost only two children, and we are quite many of us alive. So we are quite blessed. But it's not a Kanyalang name; it's a name after my grandfather,
Mm-hmm.
my maternal grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
I did my school, of course, in the Upper River region. Also, for in the interest of time,
Mm-hmm.
I graduated with a law degree. Came back to practice law. Got serious problems during my practice with Yaya Jammeh.
Uh-huh.
Got involved in the struggle. Left exile. While I was in exile, the Moral Congress was born,
Mm-hmm.
and I was lucky to be its first leader. And from then onwards, 19, I would say, from then onwards up to date,
Mm-hmm.
for about 10 years, I've been leading the Gambia Moral Congress. Of these 10 years, we spent 6 years in exile, and 4 years as a leader on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
The rest, goodbye Gambia. Goodbye Gambia.
Yes, yes. One thing you said Kanyalen. Your mom was Kanyalen. Mom was Kanyalen. That's how I get that Binto too. But my name is Binta. So we two Kanyalen children are sitting here on the platform today. All right.
Right.
Honorable, they want to hear your voice a little bit louder. And
Oh,
yes, they say your volume a little bit more. Okay. We want to know Gambia Congress, GMC, in detail, if you can. You got the platform. You are welcome.
thank you very much.
Mhm,
A lot of people wonder why the Gambia Moral Congress, why GMC.
mhm,
In 2009, before the party would be formed,
mhm,
I was out of the country. Matter of fact, admitted in hospital for pretty much 2 years
mhm.
due to an attempted assassination on my life by the previous regime. And while I was in hospital, a number of Gambians thought it was necessary for a new political philosophy
Mhm.
that would be more militant and more towards the political realities at the time.
Yes.
So young people on the ground gathered together and sought my assistance while I was away electronically.
Mhm,
And I supported them legally, with legal advice and with literature
mhm.
in of the party. They crisscrossed every part of the country and gathered the relevant signatures from Gambian voters,
Okay.
spoke to Gambians on the ground on the need political trajectory. And eventually, GMC was registered, and the gentlemen and round
Mhm,
proposed by leadership of the party, to which
mhm,
I was honored. So GMC was founded and created in the country while I was out of the country.
mhm.
The reason why first we have the name GMC is very important because the founders of the party, which included myself, looked at what was missing in Gambian politics.
Uh-huh.
Why do we have a decade of 2 years? Why do we have a deficiency of patriotic energy in the Gambia?
Mhm,
Why is it that, like my sister, try to run away from politics?
mhm.
And we felt that the missing link was morality. That it is because of the lack of morality that a lot of people run away from politics.
Okay.
And this is lack of honesty.
Yeah.
It includes the prevalence of corruption. It includes the element of promise and failure. It includes lack of commitment to duty. It includes um, propagation of sectarian interest and other interests. And so we felt what was missing in Gambian politics was the lack of morality. And that when you restore morality in politics, a lot of good attracted towards politics,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of ills of politics would also be cured. So we felt that although we are not the moralists of all, but the idea of morality was missing. And so in order to give prominence to morality, we want morality to be the center political discourse. And so to give it that prominence, the founders of the party thought the best way to do that as a starting point is to give the word moral within the context of the name of the, so that the word moral would once again be restored at the heart of the political discussion. And we will be talking about honesty in politics. We will be talking about fighting corruption in politics. We will be talking about values of hard work, of industry, value for money. We will be talking about patriotism. We will be talking about creating or restoring relationships within our communities and focusing on the national agenda. Now, we feel this is why the name moral should be in our party. And this is the philosophy of Gambia Moral Congress. The difference between GMC party and other parties is that morality will be a guiding philosophy of every aspect of GMC governance. So that when we promise, we will not fail because morality demands that you fulfill your promise. When we commit to national development, we will perform our mandate according to the aspirations of the people, because morality demands that you commit yourself to public welfare when you undertake to do so. But we will fight, because we believe that public property belongs to the public and not to an individual. And morality is that when you are entrusted with authority and with resources, you must equitably and respond for the benefit of those who entrusted you with the decision and the resources. And when we believe that when you seek to lead people, you should be the best example of what you are preaching. So morality demands that you practice what you preach. And this is why a GMC government will be the only government so far as established that will get the Gambia ER onto the river, dry land, so that continue to build this nation to its destination. That, in a sense, is the policy and philosophy of the Gambia Moral. I cannot hear you. You are mute.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Honorable, I'm recording for somehow, so I changed monitors. So I'm trying to fix it on the side here, okay? So if you can't see me disappear a little bit, you know I'm fixing something down here, but we'll be good to go, okay? All right, thank you. You mentioned the moral. It's very important. We'll come back to that. You explained that very well. I appreciate you. Okay, honorable members of parliament. They say I'm echoing, no problem. Members of parliament, GMC do not have any seat in parliament. What is the plan of the party this time, and what changes can be made?
Well, you're right about that. As I indicated, when the party was formed, I was in exile. And so the party wasn't developed itself efficiently to build a strong. So when we, together with the coalition partners, succeeded in changing the governance infrastructure, this was in December 2016. Now we spent the rest of December, 2nd December onto the entire January and up to February, trying to defend our victory because now during this period, no politics could take, and we got into cut in February. The first time GMC is actually in the middle of the national political activity was in steam. Before that, we existed but a lot of our operations were inefficient. Very, I would say. So in January, we got into cabinet, and we didn't have enough time to sell agenda, and he was not very well known in the country before that, because of my absence and due to our very structures that time. So we got to government in March. We had the National Assembly election, so there is not enough time to build the ground organization and the ground support base for our well known and to earn us the public for a National Assembly election. We did participate. We contested so many. Unfortunately, we could not win because we were not. And as a leader myself, I was not very well known in the country as a party leader. So this was the reason why we could not perform well during the parliamentary election. But now, Gambians have witnessed what a GMC can do through the competence of the leadership, our ground operations, the efficiency, practicality of our political ideas and philosophy, and our presence on the ground. So when I was appointed Minister, Gambians had the opportunity to see what a GMC leadership would do when granted with responsibility. And also, our president has helped to sell the name of the party and the party leadership. We had had 2 or 3 national congresses. All of them are very national, and GMC is no longer is a household name. We believe now have what it takes in order to win not only a parliamentary election but a national election, a presidential election.
Right.
So we're in a stronger position than we were 4 years ago.
Okay. Yes. That's amazing. Thank you. We will go down to since you are one of the 8 pillars of the coalition. We want you to walk us through the coalition a little bit, and we want to know, how was this coalition arrangement started until it failed? What made it fail?
Thank you very much. 20 was a very decisive year for the Gambia, for opposition political parties. We had series of consultations among ourselves, political parties, opposition political parties. We had 2 schools of thought. The first school of thought was a party-led type of coalition, and second contention was a primary-led type of coalition. And it took a long time for us to agree on which principle to adopt. Some of the coalition members thought it is better to follow the biggest political party because democratic evidence of Gambian second to API. Others felt, well, it's not easy that justifiably because the political landscape was not even. So if it was even, one could say perhaps other political parties also so to test the principle would be for us to have a primary among all those who wanted to contest for the president. So finally, the argument on the day. Thought they agreed that each political party would nominate 70 representatives that is going to represent the party.
Yes.
That is 10 from each region. 7 political party representatives.
Yeah.
So all of 7 political parties would have 10 representatives making 70. 20 of these the political parties combined together would elect a party bearer, would elect the flag bearer for the coalition. And before we reached that, we had signed a memorandum of agreement, memorandum of understanding that specifies how this convention was going to take place, what its rules were, and the aftermath of the of a convention. Now the memorandum was followed through. The parties that to have representation as flags came out to indicate readiness for the case. GMC, myself, I was barred to contest presidential elections. We didn't a candidate convention. DPDC, that is led by Henry Gomez, also did not have flag bearer, but instead participated like us at the convention. Then you have the NCP, 70 members, with a candidate to contest as a flag bearer. That is Dr. Bojang. And you had the PPP headed by OJ Jallo. They also did not have a candidate. Then you have headed by Halifa Saleh, who presented himself candidate for the convention. And you have UDP Adama Barrow, who also presented himself as a candidate for the convention. So the 70 delegates from each political parties assembled at Kairaba Hotel together in order to elect among these three contenders. Adama Barrow on behalf of UDP, Halifa Saleh on behalf of Doyle, I forgot, Hamad Ba on behalf of NRP, and Dr. Bojang on behalf of NC. So GMC, PPP, and DPDP did not have candidates. Now, what we did was, as in every situation, politics is about lobbying. You know, you must lobby, you must persuade in order to get the delegates.
Yes.
So the four party leaders who wanted to contest began to lobby among all the 70 delegates from each of the political parties in order to win their votes. GMC, had a long time working relationship with the UDP. So we felt that our ideas were very close to the UDP. Even though we are different political parties, but we have a lot in common. And so we thought, because of our working relationship with the UDP, we were going to support a UDP candidate whose political philosophy nearest to us more than the rest of the other political parties. And we didn't only stop that, we tried to lobby on behalf of the UDP as well in order to attract the support base for UDP at the coalition convention. And so we succeeded in getting, from GPDP members from other political parties I don't want to mention today. But we secured more than 70 votes for the UDP. In addition to UDP. When we casted, ultimately Adam Barrow would come out to be the highest, because UDP had UDP's 70 votes, he had 70 votes, and the support he was able to get him from another political party 70 votes. She alone was able to give Adam Barrow 40 votes instead of just 70. Plus UDP 70 votes. Obviously, that gives Adam Barrow 210 votes ahead of everybody else.
Right.
So we were able, the kingmakers. We actually decided the coalition candidate election, and I would say singularly responsible for the triumph, the victory of the UDP candidate at the coalition. So we will take the credit, but also take the responsibility. That unfortunately we have contributed towards whatever good or bad we have today with regards to the leadership of Adam Barrow. So far, this is really what happened. And after we won, after the coalition convention, we came together and created several committees of the coalition. But we also created a manifesto. The coalition manifesto is what would mandate Adam Barrow as a transitional leader to serve for 3 years. And at the end of the 3 years, we will go for fresh elections. The candidate Barrow would not be a candidate in that election. He would retire and organize a free and fair elections, of which he would not be a candidate. And the transitional agenda program would be completed within 3 years. As election would have a mandate of development. And on this basis, we went to a campaign, and that's how all of us rallied around Adam Barrow. But the coalition agreement also stated that whoever becomes the candidate will have to resign from your political party, in order to assure your neutrality, so that you'll be neutral and you'll be a candidate of all and not just one political party, and that you will implement the coalition transitional agenda and also comply with the timetable, that is of 3 years, even though we all knew that the constitution says 5-year mandate. But there was nothing against the law, president to resign at any time before the end of that 5 years and call for an early election so that we can end up with what we have today. This is actually how the coalition was created.
That's no one Halifa Saleh did not win the nomination because of GMC. GMC,
Yes,
right?
I would take the blame or the credit that we denied everybody opportunity to win,
To win.
except a UDP candidate. Yes,
Yes.
it was not because we did not believe that Khalifa would not make a good president. No, not because we did not believe that Ahmad Ban may not make a good president or Dr. Boja. What we believe as a political party, it is based on political philosophy and ideology. And our political philosophy and ideology that held is nearer in terms of identity than Doi. So we felt that we have more in common as an ally with a party that are more vision with not everything, but some more vision with than with Doi. But say that Halifa would not make a good leader or would be a bad leader. We did it on the basis of pragmatism, on the basis of politics, and the fact of electability. We believe the candidate would attract more support nationwide any of the other political parties. So it was a necessity also to end the regime of Yahya Jammeh. So all of these strategic considerations came into being. That were the reasons for our decision to support a UDP candidate.
Okay. Do you know President Barrow as a regular man before he became a president? Did you know him before?
Oh yes, I've known President Barrow for about 40 years.
What kind of a
that's not a
before president?
That's a time ago. Yes, I've known Barrow for a long time ago. I've known him for about 40 years. So that's pretty much a long time. A long time, yes. But that was not the main factor. It was a contributory factor, but not a main factor. Because I knew him was not the main reason.
Right.
He represented a symbol, UDP, and it was more about pragmatism. It was more about real as EAL politic as in K, not C, real politic, and what was possible at the time. Who could most likely win an election against Yahya Jammeh? Which political party? UDP had the structures, they had the base. They also have a philosophy closer to our own, and we felt at home there. Those are the reasons.
So that's why the reason. Who was he working with as a president? Who was he? How was he like working with? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Who was he? You knew him 40 years before he became a president. Then as a president, how was it like working with him?
Well, I knew Barrow. He was a jovial friend. He was very good at cracking jokes. Had his sayings. I sando no bake, sando I sando diamo no since. He was very good with proverbs and that sort of thing. He was a very strong comment in the local language. He could have communicated very well in the local language then. And I would say, remembering him as an ordinary friend, he was a very dependable guy. He was very dependable. You could depend on him as a friend. You could trust him also. That was my recollection of who Barrow was. He was a very good man, a reliable friend, and a very jovial partner. Company. That was who I remember him as. Yes.
Oh, okay, so I want to take that information. Why is it that GMC, you are the only person that took a position in the coalition?
Well, that was very shocking. We have always supported. We always believe that GMC equally well like any other place, and so it was unfair to have my party alone. From the this was something I do not understand why. It was an issue I fought coalition. It was a subject of discussion between me and the president countless times. So many times I had discussed this with the president and coalition leadership several times. That GMC deserve to be recognized in the coalition government with its presence. It's not of my party alone.
Right.
For some, throughout, up to date, this position has not been heard seriously by either President Barrow or people around. GMC even had with President Barrow officially. GMC National Executive President Barrow, in order to express our concern as to why GMC has been discriminated and marginalized, within the coalition government. President Barrow made several promises to me as a party leader, which he failed on this. And he also failed the promise he made to the national executive of GMC when we had a meeting with him at State House on this specific matter. So he has failed to fulfill all of his promises made to us with regards to giving us the justice, the fairness that GMC deserves, and the role we should occupy in the coalition government. We are very disappointed. We feel betrayed, and we are very angry about it. And we feel why we have been at the wrong end of the stick in all of these bargains.
Okay. Hopefully, maybe. What about if you all get voted in, so you will have more? That will be better, right? That will be a whole lot better.
We are working on our own weight, so
Right.
that we can control. Yes, that's our goal now.
Okay. Was there any agreement between the international bodies and Gambia for his leaving and coming back?
Well, I can tell you, during the impasse, there were two people who were involved with the international community. That is Khalifa Saleh and myself. We are the only two who, I would tell you, of all coalition members, had an intimate discussion with the international community. Of course, President Barrow as well, because he was the coalition leader. I negotiated the diplomatic part of it. On the ground when we were away, President-elect Barrow and myself. I'm not aware at any point in time when the coalition had agreed with any international organization about the status of former President Jammeh. We were not involved in any discussion. We did not mandate. We did not give anybody to negotiate on our behalf any binding agreement on the status of the former head of state. If the ECOWAS and the United Nations signed anything, former president, they did not have the authority of the time to do so. So when I was asked at the time as special advisor to President Barrow on diplomatic affairs in Dakar, before he would return about this agreement, I indicated that we do not feel that we are bound by any agreement, because we did not negotiate or enter into any negotiation with the former president, and we advise anyone to negotiate any such agreement on our behalf. So we do not feel that there's any agreement about his status so far. It does not exist. It is between him and ECOWAS, but not the Gambia government. It could not be Gambia government because we were not yet a government. We were only a coalition that President Barrow was not sworn in. Not have done so as a government, and the collection of political parties.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You published some kind of a paperwork that shows that there was an agreement, and APRC still the same thing. There was some kind of we don't know if it was signed or not, but it was some paper, some kind of paperwork.
Well, I just want to make it very clear. I am not disputing the position of the APRC. Certainly, if they have a document, they can hold on to that document.
Right.
But, what would be important? You cannot have an agreement without a signature.
Okay.
And for it to be bind, there has to be a signature. If they have a document, then they should unveil who signed the document on behalf of the coalition. I declare the issue. Who signed the agreement on behalf of the coalition? Is there any agreement that is signed between the coalition and the former president? If there is such an agreement that is signed of the coalition, then I will defend the APRC position. Fortunately, I am I am very sympathetic of their position. Unfortunately, they are grounded on law because we were not signatories to any such agreement. I think perhaps ECOWAS and African Union would have to explain to them how this came about.
Okay. Going on too. I'm sorry. I might be echoing a little bit, but I have to keep monitors. That's why other people think I'm facing somehow. But so there was other rumors long time ago, and it's still on, that when you were Interior Minister, you signed some paperwork with former Minister of Foreign Affairs, who was Honorable Dabo, for deportation. Can you clarify that portion? Was there anything signed, or was there anything similar to reflect the portion of
I want to state categorically, for the 14th time, during my tenure as Minister of Interior, Ministry, on behalf of government, did not sign any deportation agreement. I have challenged everyone to produce a document which contains my signature about the deportation order. It did not exist. And there was no deportation agreement during my time between the Gambia government and the European Union. I think a lot of speculation that is out there by a number of Gambians who are secure and uncertain about their status in Europe, and a lot of the opposition at the time about the role of the government in the deportation of Gambians. What I realized was during my tenure as minister, with the help of the IOM, we brought home over 1,000 Gambians from Libya. Those who were in Libya, and there was a big campaign online. Gambians demanding the return of Gambians who were under slavery, who were being tortured, and who themselves demanded the government to bring them home. As minister, I had a meeting with my colleague in Libya, my Libyan colleague, the Minister of Interior, to work out a modality to allow Gambians who are in Sirte and Tripoli, some of them in prison camps, to liberate them so that we will be able to repatriate them home. During that time, as Minister of Interior, to bring back 1,200 Gambians from captivity, not from Europe, from captivity in Libya. That was the only time that I participated in bringing Gambians home. Gambians were very glad to come home, and they demanded to come home. And there was a movement all over the country demanding action to bring these Gambians home. So as Minister of Interior, I worked out a situation with my colleague in Libya, and the meeting was held in Kigali, in Rwanda. I held a meeting in Kigali, in Rwanda, between my side, Minister of Interior, and the Libyans of Interior to find out how we can get Gambians who are both on the Libyan side, on the side of the Libyan government, and those who are in rebel territories in Sirte and other areas, how to get them and how to get them documentation, how to get the flight logistics, right that we chartered, how to get them into Libya and to group them, to bring them back home. I'm very proud, as Minister of Interior, I was able to save 1,200 Gambians from harms and brought them home through very complicated and intricate international diplomacy with funding from the European Union and the Gambia government. That thing that I can remember. As for those in Europe, I have always resisted against deportation from Europe. Until I left the ministry, I have not signed any agreement or supported the signature of any agreement or any deal to bring Gambians home. It would not happen during time. It could not have happened because it was the wrong thing to do.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for getting our brothers and sisters. We appreciated that. It was a tough time. It was rough then, and those Gambians that were back there, they were not only in trouble. They were in human way, abused and all suffering, all kind of suffering. But we are families back home. Parents could not sleep, so we say thank you for bringing them. That is our appreciation. We really appreciate it.
In fact, Sister Binto, very briefly, I did not have idea the fact I was very instrumental in bringing. Not only that, I went to the airport. There, and European Union ambassador, because he approached me with funding. European Union ambassador to go to the airport with, and I was at the plane. When the plane landed, I was there flight bringing our citizens home. There were 3 flights, and the Gambians were coming home. I went there to my airport myself as Minister of Interior to welcome them home, to shake their hand one by one as they get out of the plane. Not only that, to provide them with fares to their families, where they came from. Some of them from the provinces, and nowhere to stay overnight. We paid for the Friendship Hostel and lodged them there, and provided them with food, so that the next day they'll be able to rejoin their families all over the country. That was how we did that. So that was not something that was hidden, but the European part of it is not true. Not true.
Okay. Yeah, we saw the videos. It's just been a while now that I did the video, but I used to have. We saw it. And thank you for that effort. Thank you for that effort. We want to clarify one more thing. Was there any security agreement signed between Gambia and Senegal when you were Interior Minister?
Well, I'll tell you, yes, that we signed a bilateral security agreement with Senegal. It was in March, I believe March 2017. But it wasn't signed by me as a security minister, because I did not have enough time to study the agreement thoroughly, and so we needed the ministry and the government itself needed more time to study the proposed agreement, so that we can defend the national interest in the agreement. And when we got to Dakar, I was made to understand that was not going to happen. So essentially, I backed out as the minister, because I could not sign that I do not thoroughly understand in the first place, to commit my country. I think it would be very irresponsible for me to the Republic of the Gambia, to a security pact that I do not seriously study and also receive thorough consultation from the professionals. So I have an agreement on security and defense, which was signed in Dakar during a presidential visit to Senegal. Yes.
Okay. Gambians, not officially, I'm not sure about, I do not have any evidence to say that our government is interfering with the Gambia government. But the people in the community, they're complaining about Senegal. When when I think ECOWAS, when they get their trees cut off and the woods, they're trying to bring them in. They get them seized from them. So they more about Senegalese. Did you know anything about that?
Yes, I know something about it.
Okay.
Because these are not matters of secret. When you are governing a country, the citizens have right to know what you do in their name and on their behalf. When I was a Minister of Interior, we, of course, even before our ascension to government, I did the lead negotiation to bring ECOWAS economic to intervene in the Gambian impasse period. I went to Abuja, 2 to 3 delegations, and I negotiated on behalf of the coalition the need for ECOWAS intervention. And when it was necessary to get ECOMIG in, I was also the lead negotiator. So I know the content of the agreement, the protocol that brought ECOMIG. It had nothing to do with controlling logs or wood. So it was not part of the ECOMIG mandate. It was the Senegalese contingent which came under a bilateral agreement between Gambia and Senegal, who were more concerned about the logs. And when I was Minister of Interior, I did something about this. I convened a meeting of the security chiefs, that is the defense staff of the armed forces, Lieutenant General Masane Kinte, Inspector General of Police, the SIS Director General, and all of the service chiefs, together with the Senegalese intervention armed forces in Gambia, Colonel, I believe, Colonel Njai at the time.
I convened them at the Ministry of Interior, and together with the Barracudas of the Ministry of Interior, together also with the Minister of Environment, who is in charge of the logs, the fruit, the timber. That is the Minister of Lamin Diba, was also at the meeting. And the Department of Forestry were at the meeting. I convened this meeting, and during the meeting, I was very clear to the commander of the Senegalese forces in Gambia that under the bilateral agreement or the treaty, foreign forces have no right to interfere with the transportation of log within Gambian territory. That it was a responsibility for the Gambia Police Force and Gambian law enforcement agencies to deal with internal Gambian law enforcement issues. And that if we have issues of timber, Senegalese should intensify their surveillance within their borders in order to prevent the smugglers from smuggling this out of their territory, because this timber is not coming from Gambia, it's coming from Senegal.
Right.
So it is the responsibility of the government to make that these lorries of timber their territory. But once they enter the Gambia, it is no longer their business. Think about it. But for the Gambia to do what it should. And so I gave a directive at the time to the commander of the Senegalese force in Gambia, Colonel Njai, not to interact with this matter anymore and allow Gambian law agencies to deal with it, together institutions, including the Department of Forestry, the Ministry of Environment, the Gambia Police Force, stay away from this. That if they have any, they should hand over to Gambian security forces to take the timber and confiscate them and send them back to Senegal, because that would be a violation of our sovereignty. So as Minister of Interior, I held this meeting, but shortly afterwards, I was relieved of my responsibility. So that was the end.
So what would you tell the Minister of Interior? What advice?
Well, these are matters of court. I did not hold anything at the Minister. I held a records on which I had files. The minister to minister by the policy. It's up to them. I am no longer there. It's up to them to do.
Good. Thank you. We appreciate that. All right, I'm going to do another round. Politics.
Thank you.
You know, Jawara, even though I was young, when I was growing up, I hear when they say Ngunja Talo, growing up. But it's another game. It's completely different. Insults. As a party leader, this insult. Humiliating grown-ups, humiliating people in the front line, making efforts to make a difference in the Gambia. Party leaders, individuals. This insult is the 100% of politics. Let's say 99.9999 politics. As a party leader, what would you say to us, the Gambian people?
Well, if you recall, the second or the third question you asked me was about Gambia Moral Congress. And I indicate that the missing link in Gambian politics was morality, sanity. Because of the lack of a sense of morality, people can go about and invent lies against other people. That communities can organize themselves, communities of supporters can organize themselves into political fora and heap insults against their opponents. And let me just say here, for the benefit of all, there is nothing called forums. Forums is wrong English. It's fora. The plural of forum is fora. So people say, go to the forums. There is nothing called forums in English. When I say fora, I want you to understand. I mean what other people call forums. So people go to a political party fora, what they call, and then start insulting other people. That is the kind of politics GMC is in existence to clean. We felt that a sense of morality, a sense of dignity, and a sense of dignity will not permit you to insult others. A sense of morality, politics of issues will not focus on the individual and the personality of the individual. We will focus on how to develop the country. It will be a contest of ideas, a challenge on who has the best way to develop this country, to unite this country, is what the Gambia needs. That is why the Gambia Moral Congress is unique among all political parties, because we are the only political party whose political focuses on the promulgation of morality. Insult is realistic. Heaping and false accusations against others is not. Now a sense of morality will give you a sense of maturity to look at things realistically, objectively, and to be fair and equitable to all. That is the kind of politics that GMC is here to install, and that is what makes us different from everybody. And that is why we call ourselves Gambia Moral Congress, because we are encouraging a moral consciousness among Gambians. We are encouraging unity among Gambians, a consciousness towards a tribeless society, a society that focuses on merit, that focuses on delivery, that focuses on national reconciliation. The of development is one that will condition you to commit yourself to the well-being of all and not just a few or the welfare of your political party alone. So the solution to all this is a GMC-based ideology that recognizes nothing but issues and the nation as one. That is what I would tell Gambians. Come to GMC, where we do not insult anybody and where we do not create lies and invent stories on people. It's the only political party that is organized along those lines, the only political party, mashallah, for the barakallah, that is not involved in insulting. The only one throughout the whole country.
Thank you. Yeah, we talk about discipline on this platform. I mean, it's our motto. Discipline is discipline. We never allow insult. And for you talking about it, we appreciate that. And it should be every leader's responsibility now. Either they are talking to their parents during the campaign or they are. We have to keep talking about this moral, this insult, this. We can handle that. So we appreciate you. We appreciate you. Y'all hang in there. Y'all hang in there. Okay. The people that I've let me talk to my the Bantabak folks. It's Honorable Ahmad Fatih, our former Interior Minister. Yes.
And special advisor, former special advisor to the president.
I mean special. Let me come to that. Why are you not a special advisor anymore?
I'm provoking you.
But it's a real question. We saw you when you resigned, and you did a press conference. Why are you not why did you decide to resign? What happened? If you don't mind.
Well, when I was appointed by the president as special advisor, it was very clear. I had a long discussion with the president. Because one cannot just be a general advisor to the president. You cannot be a jack of all trades and a master of all. You just can't come and say, well, you are advising the president, especially on everything. Because I have an expertise. I'm a lawyer by training. So my job description was a special advisor to the president on policy and governance. Policy and governance. So when I got in there, the first thing I did was I found that there was a lot of chaos at the State House, a lot of chaos at the highest level of governance. There was no coordination among government ministries. There was a lot of policy discordant. There was no way to measure performance anywhere in the government. One government ministry is doing another thing. The other one is doing the opposite of that. Nobody can tell you how our resources are being invested. And so we had to bring in some order. So there was what was called Policy Analysis Unit, and I expanded it to what became the Department of Strategic Policy and Delivery. The purpose of the department was to create coordination among all ministries, agencies, and institutions in government, what they call ministries, agencies, and departments, or MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies, in order to bring coherence to administration in the government. And so the department was supposed to be the incubation for excellent policy formulation, also in terms of coordination among all government departments, but also measuring delivery. How successful are government departments and ministries delivering on government's national development agenda? This was what I started there, so that I can advise the president clearly on the performance of government in terms of policy and governance. In other words, to have something called a dashboard, so that he can look and see what is happening at the Ministry of Interior. What are their weaknesses? What is going wrong there? He can look at Minister of Finance. He can look at the Accountant General's department and say, well, this week the Gambia has spent, $20 million, but we have brought in $90 million from these sources. The central bank in terms of monetary policy, finance in terms of fiscal policy, infrastructure. How well are we doing? We want to build a road to Hakalang. It is supposed to take us 6 months. Where are we today? How much has been spent? How many more kilometers do we have to go to finish? What is the quality? All these things. So this was the kind of dashboard the governance dashboard for the president, so that he can fully understand his government, the functioning of his government, defects of his government, the level of coordination among ministries and departments, and policy harmonization as well. I started this, it was going very well, but there are two issues, and I don't want to be associated. So after encountering endless bottlenecks and endless hills and mountains, I felt, my presence was useless, so I had to leave. So I resigned because I didn't ever find myself useful in the positional advice of the president on policy and governance. And because I don't want to fail, and I was not achieving the national objective, I resigned.
Okay. So, to take you to the draft constitution. We will have two things, the draft constitution, but before that, I want to play your video that you were very emotional. A day before they voted it in. If that's okay. Let me see. Yes. I'm going to share the screen. Yes. Yeah, be patient with us. There's this amazing video. We had him on.
Fellow Gambians.
So I'm going to pause it right there. Yes. Thank you. We're going to share it. Okay, can you guys hear this? Let me play it. Just a second. Sharing the scary. Yes, so it was. Okay, so this was the.
Yes, I remember very well. If it's coming out.
The benefit of other people. Okay, well, anyway, let's go ahead and talk while I try to share it. So it was very emotional. Why were you so emotional about it?
Well, it was a culmination of pent-up emotions. It had to do with love of my country.
Right.
The trial and tribulations that we've been through for the 22 years of the dictatorship. Lost all the people who were sent to jail. All of the years of myself and so many other people went through, and the difficult encounter. All the people who were injured because of fighting in the battlefield of the liberation struggle of the Gambia, and the hopes and aspirations of more than 2 million Gambians who voted for the Barrow administration, hoping change, hoping for changes in our laws. Now I felt that
it was very important that all of them together, that as a country we should not fail history. We should not fail those who lost their lives. We should not fail those who went to prison because they want a better Gambia. They want a more equitable Gambia. They want a fairer Gambia. We should not fail those who had to run to exile to save their lives, save their families at home. All the women who were widowed, all the children who were orphaned, and all the people who went to the polls on December 2nd, December 1st, in order to bring in all of them had their hopes hinged on a new constitution. With the betrayal of the highest that especially.
The name of Allah, the most gracious,
Hold on, let's watch
most
this.
omnipotent. Fellow Gambian,
Can you guys
I thank you this evening to discuss one of the most important issues in our nation's history.
wait, sir?
Yes.
As we all go to bed, we will be reflecting the fact of our country, which will continue to unveil tomorrow at the National Assembly. We are on the verge of making history again. But it depends what kind of history we are making. We are at a very important threshold of history. We are at a crossroad, and as a people, we make a fundamental determination about the future of our country. This has to do with the draft constitution that is before Parliament. I have unveiled the totality of my opinion about this draft. And before going further, I'm going to emphatically register that I support the draft constitution 100%. We believe that this draft should find its way to legitimate destiny, and that is the people of this country to make it at a referendum. That is where, but we know the law. We are constrained by the provisions of the Constitution. And we also know
I cannot hear anything.
of the voters of this country. We all know the huge mountain of obstacles that have been erected in the path of the ratification of the Constitution. But I'm going to talk to you today, fellow Gambians, not as but as a Gambian who loves this country and wants to see the best done for this country. You see, over the past 2 years of the dictatorship, a lot of our people shed their blood. How many people have lost their lives? And a lot of us paid with jail. Many of us through very arduous life in exile. We did all of that not because we want to see a retrogression in the political life of our country. We do all that. We love this country and we want to see the best for this country. This constitution that we gave ourselves is the culmination of months and months of very intense consultation with every section of this country, including the citizens, from farmers, to lower professional, to mechanics, to carpenters, to architects, to lawyers. Every segment of this country had the opportunity to get their views reflected in a draft that we feel going to make history, that we feel going to serve our people for the next century. We have invested over $100 million and countless numbers of man hours to see that this country is able to move again.
Okay, all right. So that was the emotions. I was just trying to play it for the benefit of those people that did not get to say it. That emotions, when you saw that emotion, it was not just you, but people that love Gambia. We the Gambians. Either you support the draft or you don't support the draft. Emotions was real. Your emotions was real. It was real. So thank you for loving our country. Either it's right or it's not. Some people will support. It won't favor everybody. But that was the coalition's dream to come and make some changes. Security reform, the constitutional draft, and so many things. So if that failed, I understand that you feel like you guys have failed.
That's correct.
Yes. So thank you for that. But let's move on to the draft itself. Judges. We were talking about the judges that order so, and you were watching, and you said I asked the question about the judges keeping their salary, even they retire. Yes, and you on the comment you said it is a norm for West African countries judges to retire with their salaries. Can you go into that for us?
Yes, thank you very much. I think that has been one of the artificial reasons, because that's not a strong reason, artificial reason for some of the unreasonable members of parliament who are responsible for the failure of the passage of the draft. In the Commonwealth, not just the Gambia, in over 100 countries, there is a provision in their law that allow judges to retire on their salary. It is not just the Gambia alone. It is in over 100 countries. This is a norm. It is a practice to allow judges to retire on their salaries. The reason is not because judges are more important than other public sector workers. No, not because judges are more educated or judges deserve special privilege. It is the role of the institution they represent. Government has three arms: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. The most important arm is the judiciary. Why is this the case? Because when there is a problem between the citizen and the executive, you go to the judiciary. It is the judiciary that decides. It is the final, but it is the final frontier of hope. When there is a problem between the citizen and parliament, you go to the judiciary. So it is the judiciary that has the power and the authority to nullify the actions of the executive and the legislature. And one illustration I can give is the case of Yakumba Jaite against the government of the Gambia. When the president, the executive, dismissed her from the legislature, it is the court that told the president, you don't have the authority to do this. You don't have the power to dismiss a nominated member of parliament. And the president's nomination of a previous person was nullified by the judiciary. And the law was upheld. Yakumba had to go back and assume her seat. When a citizen who felt aggrieved by the recommendations of the Jane Commission was angry and felt injustice, citizens went to the Court of High Court, from there to the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal ruled that the Jane Commission had no authority. Its decision is not a court of law. So it had no authority to arbitrarily seize the assets of citizens. It had to go through a different legal process. So those citizens' properties were protected by the law because of the judiciary. Now, judiciary faces a lot. They face the might of the power of the government. They also face the might of capitalism. That is a bribery and other influences. Now, if we do not keep them in a situation where they can remain objective and sincere and fair, the whole of society will have no hope. Because when a citizen is imprisoned
unlawfully by the power of the state, they run to the court unlawfully jailed. And the Senate and the judiciary has the power to tell all its security apparatus, state you are wrong, get this citizen out, and helpless citizen will have his freedom. Now, if you make their salaries such that when they have to retire and they are thinking of where their next bread will come from, you are subjecting them to vulnerabilities. One, to bribery, because their salary is not much. They will take bribes, and then they will compromise justice, or they will listen to the state, hoping that the state will give them favors, so that when they have to retire, they'll have a package that will be useful for them. It is the danger that such vulnerabilities and to keep independent as the only most powerful and fair in all of the institutions that Commonwealth countries, over 100 countries, allow them to retire on their salary, so that they will have no problem thinking about what will happen to me when I leave as a judge, and so that they will be able to do justice fairly, and they will not be influenced by material considerations, by material considerations. This is why, as a principle, to maintain the independence of the judiciary as the most important organ of the state, the wisdom to allow them to retire on their salary is engraved in almost all constitutions in the Commonwealth. It is the situation in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Sierra Leone, in England, in Canada, in Australia, in Kenya, in Uganda, in Tanzania, in in more than 100 countries. So those who don't know use it as an excuse in order to make people angry about the unfairness of what they call the draft constitution, and also in order to provoke anger and impatience against the chairperson of the commission, who is a judge, because they believe that he was favoring his own fellow judges, which is not the case. They just don't know. It's out of ignorance. This is why I said it's not new. The Gambia is not unique. If you have over 100 countries doing this practice, then it could not have been a bad practice. In fact, it is best international practice. It is best international practice.
So that's really clear. We don't want them receiving any bribery to favor somebody else and stuff like that. So yes.
Or influenced by government.
Yes.
To favor government against citizens.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So that's really clear. How about our Christian families? I know this is just, we repeat it, but we just need that clarification from different opinions. The look of the Constitution, people have different interpretation, but we want you to clarify a whole lot of this. Our Christian families, are they protected? Were they protected on it?
They are fully protected.
Okay.
Fully protected. Mm-hmm. There's no need to worry on their part. I think it's a lot of exaggeration and a lot of misinformation from quarters, that do not in fact represent all of the interests of the Christian community. I think it is just a much ado about nothing. I'm not saying that their concerns are not legitimate. They may have legitimate concerns, but legally speaking, the draft constitution is not an innovation. What the draft constitution did in terms of religious freedom and the secularity of the state was what existed in the 1970 constitution under President Dawda Jawara. The first constitution of the Gambia, Republican Constitution of the Gambia, maintains the same provision in the 1997 constitution under Yaya Jammeh, the Second Republic, and the same provisions with regards to the independence of all religions and their equality has been taken from the 1997 constitution and put in the draft. So there's nothing in the draft that is new about religion. There's nothing that is totally new about religion, Christianity, or Muslim, or about secularism. The 1997 constitution is the same provision that the draft took and incorporated. So there's no difference here. It is only the majority who do not understand what was in the 1997 constitution that now understood what is in the 1997, the new draft, because of the publicity of the draft and the public engagement, who felt that these are new provisions, but they are not new. They have always been there since 1970. So if it has protected the Christian community for nearly 50 years, I don't see there is any threat at all. One. And secondly, there are express provisions in the draft that says that the government, nobody in the Gambia, the power or the authority to declare the Gambia a religious state for any religion, either Christian or Muslim. That is clearly enacted in the draft. I think that is sufficient guarantee, because it is a law in the draft that states the Gambia cannot be based on any religion. All religious groups are equal. That is in the draft. I think that is fair enough. I think the main concern about the Christian community has Sharia courts, because the draft created provisions that expand the jurisdiction of Sharia courts. But even this is not new, because the 19th Constitution defines what are the laws of the Gambia. It defines the laws of the Gambia. It includes the existing law. It includes the decrees that were passed by the military government of Yahya Jammeh. It also includes the Sharia. It includes the Sharia of the Gambia. So Sharia has always been part of the Gambian law. It is in the 1997 Constitution. The 1997 Constitution also created what are called Qadi courts. Qadi court is another name for Sharia court. It has always existed in the 1997 Constitution. In the draft, it is also incorporated in the draft, but they did not call it Qadi court. They call it Sharia courts. But they are the same. Qadi court is the same as Sharia courts. In the Gambia, we call it Qadi courts. In Nigeria, they call them Sharia courts. In Pakistan, they are called Sharia courts. In some states in northern Nigeria, they are called Qadi courts. So it's just one or the other, but the terms are interchangeable. The word Sharia is what frightens a lot of our Christian brethren who do not understand exactly variation had always existed. The other aspect of the Sharia part is that for the first time in the Gambia, you now have a Sharia with original jurisdiction. But it is very clear. The draft also states that the Sharia aspect of the Constitution will apply only to Muslims. So if you are not a Muslim, the Sharia part in the law does not cover you. Nothing to worry about. Since the Qadi court, which already exists now, does not apply to Christians, it applies only to Muslims. So the draft also says the Sharia court will continue to exist as a high court, but it will also apply to Muslims. So the word Sharia and now high court, which never existed before, have given them some alarm, feeling that, well, this is getting too much now. Maybe this is veering more towards a Sharia state, an Islamic state. But in reality, if you look at the responsibility, the duties of that Sharia high court, it is not different from what we already have now, the Qadi courts, in terms of dissolution of marriage, in terms of inheritance, custody of children. All these are matters that go to Qadi court, because 90% of Gambian Muslims do not go to the church to conduct their marriages. They go home, and it is based on Islam. So when there is a divorce, the divorce is also guided by Islamic law. And when there is problem, when a Muslim dies, they do what is called miras, and this miras is done according to Islamic law. Right. So when there is a disagreement among the relatives as to whether the distribution was fair or not, they go to the Qadi court, which has expertise over interpretation of Islamic law. When there are issues of custody of children in a divorced Muslim family, they go to the Qadi court. When the Muslim woman wants to get a divorce and the husband says no, she goes to the Qadi court, and the Qadi court will give her freedom if she is right in demanding a divorce and asking the husband to take care of the children lawfully. These are the jurisdiction of the Qadi court. And it's no longer called just Qadi court, it is now Qadi High Court, Qadi Court of Appeal. So that if you are not happy at the High Court level, you go to the Court of Appeal. Qadi Supreme Court, then you go to the Supreme Court. This is not also new. It exists in Senegal. It exists in Nigeria. It exists in Tanzania. It exists in Uganda. It exists in so many countries where you have a Muslim population. Even Ghana has a Qadi court in the northern part of Ghana. So this is not new. This is just to streamline the administration of Islamic law in the Gambia, applicable. But Christians also have a law that favors them, because they have what is called Christian Marriage Act. So that when there is a divorce, you go to court, you will adjudicate based on what that act says.
of wills. A Christian man dies and leaves a will. The rest of the family members are not sure as to how this will was fairly distributed, or in fact whether the will was the of the dead person, or it was tampered with or forged to court. And this is determined according to the common law. And this is for Christians. They have to civil courts, they sign their marriages, just like Muslims go to the mosque and conduct their marriages without signature, but based on faith. So I mean, it's fairness there. It is that these matters are not clearly to Gambians, so that they see, in fact, there is fairness, between in terms of institutions and the laws, and that the draft did not give any undue advantage to Muslims they never had before. It did not give them any new privileges or new protection under the constitution. And so these are the matters that are not clear to them, and that should be clear to them.
Okay. Now it's clear. Thank you. We have to ask the question. Sorry. How is it? Okay. I want to ask you about impeachment. In the States here, not long ago, they were trying to impeach Donald Trump. And in any democratic country, we have to have impeachment, laws for impeachment. Okay, they said the new draft said, I'm not sure about the 1997, but the new draft said 20%, half of the vote of the members of parliament, if they get half, they can impeach the president. Can you also work on that one for us?
Well, I don't think anybody should worry about impeaching a president, because in the first place, the president is not to get involved in any impeachable conduct.
Okay.
So nobody should be fighting hard to protect the president against impeachment, because the president's action should be board. He is the primus inter pares, the number one citizen, the father of the nation, the custodian of the laws of the moral guardian of the sovereignty. Should be the example of examples. He should be the epitome of our national sovereignty. There shouldn't be any law to protect his excesses. And nobody should advocate for protecting the president against violations of the law, his oath of office, or misconduct in office. In fact, I think half is too much. Half is too, it should be less than half. Because if we say the president can be elected on 50 plus one vote, 50 plus one vote. That is what the new constitution states, the draft states. The president must be elected on 50 plus one. So even 50 votes, 50 plus one. If it is 100, the president should have 51 votes. That's about half.
Yes.
If you can elect the president, about half, you should be able to honor a president then on the same principle. I don't see what is the big deal here. That is one part. The second part is, why would you not look at the national interest? Why are you focusing on impeaching a president? That should not be the issue. You should worry about what will empower the citizens. What are the laws that are guaranteeing independence and the sovereignty of Gambian citizens? And not what is going to empower the most powerful man already. He's already powerful. He's already very powerful. Why should you worry about giving him more powers than necessary and taking these powers from the ordinary citizens? I think it is a foundation for dictatorship. So I don't see any logic, any wisdom, or any justification to defend that aspect of it. The president impeach on 40 of the votes. That should be enough.
Okay. It's not because of America. We had Yakumba Jete stand in parliament and say if the president did not come and answer the parliament, we could face impeachment. That's why we have interest on that.
Oh, well, I can tell you, in the constitution of the Gambia, the president is compelled to answer parliament. He's not compelled. There is no provision that forces him to go before parliament, unless if the president is being, if there is a vote of confidence, if he is being impeached, if there's a vote of no confidence against the president, then the president could appear before parliament to defend himself against the allegations. But other than that, the constitution provides that the responsible for government business is the vice president. He or she is the leader of government business. So, so if the president is summoned, constitutionally, the president can delegate the vice president answer on his or her behalf. So there is no legal compulsion that requires the president to go and answer them.
Thank you.
According to the Gambian constitution, so far.
All right. Yeah. Hey, are you guys still in the class? Today, our teacher is hitting it. Do not share, please. This is important information. We cannot just sit in. Please share. Share. Okay, Honorable, I have been holding you here for a while. We got a few more to go, then I will let you go. We are honored to have you. We are pleased to have you. And we might need you back again, okay? Okay.
I don't
okay, so CRC, they said the draft constitution is in a coma. It's not dead. What are they trying to tell us? Will another government, this government, revive it? Your government, when they come, y'all come. GMC, when you win the vote, would you revive it? Is that what they're trying to tell us?
Well, because we have an act. It's called Constitutional Review Commission Act. Even though the CRC, the members, the commission has been dissolved, but law that the CRC is not dissolved. The law still exists in our books. So CRC as a commission, the president today can decide to appoint new commissioners to review the constitution again. The law is still there. And that is one of the number one why they say the draft is not dead. It is in a coma because the law that creates the CRC is not dead. That law still exists. It's an act of parliament, and that statute continues. It's not dissolved, even though the draft has down, but the CRC Act cannot be voted down unless parliament repeals the act, and the act is still alive. That is one reason. The second reason is the overwhelming majority of Gambian citizens, overwhelming majority, even in the National Assembly, want the draft to succeed because the number of votes against are smaller than those who voted for the draft. The majority voted for the draft. Minority that voted against it because they need 42 and they could not get 42. Even if they get 41, it will still not pass. So the minority that voted against it also, and the majority in the country, shows that most Gambians want this draft to remain alive. That is the empirical reality. That is the evidence on the ground in parliament and outside. Because of Gambians in parliament and out of parliament want this draft to be alive, it will not die. Somehow there'll be a possibility to revive it in the future. The reason is, I know of all political parties in the Gambia, except the NPP, all political parties wanted the draft to succeed. So if NPP is out of power, I believe that the next government will try to reinvigorate the process again, because all political parties supported the passage of the draft. And so either now or in the future, they will come back again. Thirdly, 2 days ago, just on Friday, the Cabinet of the Gambia authorized the Minister of Justice to begin negotiations again with stakeholders with a view to reviving the draft again. So that is also evidence that the draft is not totally dead. It is in a coma, giving intensive care treatment, but it is on the road to recovery. It is on the road to recovery. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Since we had before the draft started, Honorable said he gave an advice to. Can you hear me? So Honorable Ali. That's okay. Honorable Ali said the 1997 Constitution should be amended instead of going for a new complete draft. But since we don't have the draft now, what will be the few things you will, as a party leader, would recommend changed, amended before the 2021 election? Just few. It could be two, it could be one, it could be 3.
Well, I'll give a few. One, I would like to see amendment in terms of the appointment of judges. According to the Constitution, it is the Judicial Service Commission that is responsible for recommending appointment of judges. Now, but if you look at the Judicial Service Commission, almost all of the members Judicial Service Commission except one are also appointed by the president. So the Judicial Service Commission is a committee that has all the president appointees there, and this is the committee that should also recommend to the president who to appoint as a judge. So it's like the president's men recommend president to recommend who should be a judge among them again. I think that power, I would like to see that amended. That the president will have limited ability to choose who should be a member of the judiciary, of the bench, because that is going to ensure total independence of the judiciary from the executive, and that's what we need. We do not want judges feel that they owe the president, any favor because he appointed them into authority. I would like to see an amendment of that. Secondly, I would like to see an amendment that has to deal with eligibility in terms of election to become presidency. We should laws just for the sake of one individual. We should make laws in order to resolve a situation that should be our society. Currently, the Constitution states that somebody who is convicted in prison, should not be considered for election. Now, what I would like to say about that is, one of the first countries in Africa to gain independence was Ghana. Kwame Nkrumah won election while in jail. When they conducted election in Gold Coast, Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah, the father of African liberation, he was in jail. He could not even campaign. But the people voted for him. He won election while he was in prison. And he came out to be this person who supported many African countries to obtain independence. In fact, he supported and granted scholarship to people like Sarora Jawara to study in Ghana, veterinary science, and so many, many other people. So we should identify what kind of crime that should disqualify you from contesting elections. If it is a crime, then you should not be politically barred from contesting elections. If you are there for criminal purposes, for embezzlement of funds, for corruption, for murder, for rape, for theft, housebreaking, if you are in there for real criminal core offenses, you should be denied. But if you go to jail because you, for a political crime, I think that should not be counted, as a criminal. And let us say the independence of Sarora Jawara. We saw that Hassan Musa, Sirif Diba, and many others, they were, sent to prison on account of the July 1981 abortive coup. But Sarora Jawara did not deny these people the chance to contest. Sirif Diba contested several elections after that, because these are political offenses. So political offenses should not be considered as part of criminal offenses. Because if you protest against a bad law and you are taken to court and convicted because of that protest, you are not a criminal, you are a national hero. You should not be denied, from exercising your civil rights. If you are taken to court for killing somebody, even if you are in the country, you should be denied because you have no right to take somebody's life. So there should be a distinction. In terms of, I would like to see the law amended in terms of that eligibility. The third part, I would like to see a reform is to see Information Act. The freedom, citizens should be able to get information from government as a matter of law. When they want from the state in terms of policy or budgeting or any other matter, the government must provide this information to them, because the government is governing on behalf of the citizens, and it should not be kept away from citizens as to how the affairs of their country is being governed. information about bridge construction in Fatoto, it will take you 10 years to get the account breakdown, because they information to you. But that money belongs to the people of the Gambia. They have a right to know every butut that is spent. But they will tell you, no, accessible to Parliament. We will tell Parliament how we spent it. But every citizen write Minister of Infrastructure and say, look, how much are you spending in this bridge? Can you tell us how much you have spent so far? How much money is left? What is the balance? And they should write back and tell you this is the case. I would like to see that enthroned. There are many more I can go, but I'll stop here for now.
Okay, for your amendment on the qualification to be elected, are you qualified to be elected 2021? Even it's not.
I am the most qualified Gambian to contest election 2020. Qualified in all aspects. Mashallah, tabarakallah. All aspects. Nothing. There is nothing that current of me from being a candidate. If GMC decides to front me, if GMC is me as their candidate, I am the most qualified candidate for today.
Yes. Yes. Let's happen to that one. They are here. They can hear all Gambians, and we appreciate this. Barrow's government. Are there any disappointments you have with Barrow government?
Yes.
Okay.
I have.
Can you?
The first disappointment is the failure of the coalition agenda. I believe that even though President Barrow is not compelled by law to respect the 3-year mandate, I think honor and dignity should have advised him to respect the agreement that he entered into with his colleagues. That's disappointment. I know that the Constitution protects his mandate. 5 years is a mandate that the law protects. But also, the legal consequence, if he respect the 3 years, that would not be against the law either. It will not also be against the mandate, because we campaign across the country promising Gambians a 3-year mandate. So if he stops at 3 years, Gambians will not be disappointed and they will not be surprised, because that was a campaign promise that we made. And so there will be no political consequence. And I think he will be remembered as one of the great statesmen of Africa if he did respect that obligation. That is what I would have done. Second, I was also disappointed that the coalition memorandum provides that the president should consult his colleagues on matters of governance. The moment he became the president of the country, he became an executive president, and he totally ignored and negated the coalition memorandum as well. But the most disappointment I have has to do with corruption. The perception of corruption is very high in the government today. The perception of competence and inefficiency is very high. And also the failure of the transitional security reform has been a failure since 2017. Civil service reform has not happened. I'm very disappointed. Reform has not happened. We have the same institutions as in the Jammeh days. We have the same civil service procedure and processes as in the Jammeh days. We have the same accountability mechanisms, just the Jammeh days. And also, the constitutional review process is also a major disappointment, because that was killed by the NPP and Barrow himself. The Jammeh Commission recommendations were also not transparently implemented. That is also another major failure of a transitional agenda. So in general, except some road construction projects, and a few energy projects, in general, I would say the government has failed the Gambians. In general. I would say the government has.
What would you advise them? Yeah, and they're watching. What advice do you have for them?
I would advise Barrow to respect the mandate in terms of the commitment and the campaign promises he gave Gambians. That we came on an agenda of reform, that we are going to reform the civil service, going to strengthen power. We are going to strengthen and empower the institutions. We are going to reform the security sector so that the iniquity decadence of the past in terms of human rights and other aspects will not be repeated again. These are the promises and the commitments we made Gambians. We have largely failed on these promises. So I advise President Barrow to do the honorable thing. If you fail as a leader in terms of your promises, come back and talk to Gambians. As to the reason for your failure, go back to the drawing board, correct your mistakes, and seek forgiveness from your citizens. Try to restore confidence. Try to build again and see where you can start, from where you went wrong. That is what I expect. But what we see today is recalcitrance. What we see today is stubbornness. What we see today is strengthening of the office and the power of the presidency so that the president can continue to govern for another 15 years. So it is a deviation from principle. I think the president should go back to the drawing board. The reason why he was elected in the first place. That is what he should remember. Why was he elected in the first place? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate it. And, would we vote for GMC 2021 English? And you can, to Mandinka, any advice you have for the Gambian people. All right? Yes. Thank you. You are welcome.
Thank you very much. Now, Gambians. They doesn't belong to any individual. It belongs to all of us collectively. Everywhere in the world you go, you will be a foreigner. Whether you have the permanent residence documentation or whether you naturalize to become a citizen, you will always remain a foreigner. The Gambia is the only where no law, no government, can deprive you of your citizenship. You are a citizen. Whether like it or not, they cannot take your citizenship away from you. Whichever country you live in, no matter how powerful or wealthy or educated you are, if you naturalize, they can revoke your naturalization and take back their citizenship from you. They can revoke your residence permit and you'll become illegal the next minute. The only country that you own, that you appropriate as your own, is the Gambia. The welfare of the Gambia is the business of all Gambians. It is the only country that constitutes our collective patrimony. Let us focus on developing the Gambia, but most of all, let us unite as one people with our divergence as a source of wealth and riches, of our cultural, powerful heritage, as one with one destiny. Let us respect our differences, our politics, but let us recognize that in spite of all differences, we are all Gambians. And that is the only communality that is more powerful and stronger than any other artificial difference have. So as we march towards 2021, let us eschew violence. Let us eschew insults. Let us eschew provocation. Let us love each other as Gambians within our diversity and our cultural and ethnic riches, of inspiration and a source of unity. Let us run away from those politicians who use our difference to rule us and to control us. Mbadi Gambian kodu. Gambia da mandom banko tin denta menna. Alingan na banko di ya kanta. Bari alingan na foro ya kanta. Ni me la foro ya kanta ibeke la jongla di ila banko kan. Woto na bali ya na kilimba ya na sinyo ya alinga ol kanta wala kumaya politikoti. Nkana song politiko e janjango nati na dimba ya tema. Politiko e kuya nati na sinyo ya konola. Anin politiko e kuya nati na dino konola. Kanu alinga lo nyofe ngam fam fasa nganda banko fasa alinga si fatam fan sobula alinga banku di ya fasa woto nga nyatri nkarte fayo menna alinga banku di ya fasa alinga banko la nyatuta jube nga nafulo to koma ngan siyo to koma ngam bodula to koma nga gambe kilinti gambe la nafa ndolbe la nafa be wala kono nafulo la nafa wo mo kun kilum lati ani mol men suti atanna
mbokki Gambia ni aca la ñu xool Gambia njëriñu Gambia moo lu gën a am solo aca la ñu bennoo ngir taxaw interest Gambia bandiraɓe fulɓe ko Gambia ɓuri moƴƴi ko Gambia ɓuri mawni enen fof komin Gambian e fi Allah en daaru interest Gambian ko ɗum ɓuri moƴƴi affaire tribe on affaire religion e religion ɗum fof ala nafa ko Gambia o nafa amen fofu Gambia woni leydi amen acala en golle Gambia leydi amen a jarama buy ala barika. Thank you very much.
I have to clap on that one. Thank you. We do appreciate you. This platform belongs to every party, especially the leaders and the people that are very active in the parties. It's a form of school. It's just a class. Today, we will take that to our grave. You can lose well, you can lose, but you cannot lose the knowledge you have. So we appreciate you coming here to give us the knowledge you just did. Sir?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, but
I invite all of you to GMC, the only solution to the Gambia.
right.
The best solution to GMC, the next government of the Gambia 2021. Inshallah. Thank you very much for having me, sister. I'm very proud of you. Very proud of you.
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you.
And have a good one.
Thank you. Wow.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. We love you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. How about that? Look at that. We have a long class today, and we appreciate everybody. And you hear all what he just said. We all heard about that. And we appreciate the Honorable GMC. GMC were on the platform today. We love y'all. We love y'all. Yes. We appreciate everybody. It was a good class, even though it was long. Respect. Please share. Share our page, our video, share. Let's share this every weekend. Once every Sunday, we can learn from each other. We can learn from our leaders. You might accept or you might not accept. We don't have to, we cannot support one person. But you have to learn from the people to know something. It could be you tomorrow as a candidate. It could be you representing your party. It could be you as a PRO. We've been having other political parties, but we say, Honorable Mai Fati, GMC, we appreciate y'all. Nothing else. We have learned a lot. Binto Bantaba Network. Hey, Facebook have been hand-picking our special fans. If you see that symbol next to your name, we say, thank you for being our special fan. We love y'all. Sunday, do not miss. Hey, we are human beings. We will talk. We talk. It might not be the perfect way. It may come back out. But if it don't, you feel inconvenience, we are sorry. We are sorry, and I cannot just do without y'all. That's all. Honorable Mai Fati, you made our Sunday. Yes. Love y'all. The classroom, who is the class prefect? Mother Ann, you are our class prefect. Yes, I appreciate everybody. Can you guys hear the music? Thank you, ML. We love you, GMC. Thank you. Ture, thank you, Fatoma. Allah baraka. Jamu yamar dula doronet hormone mbunyale bijam. Ninga momo invite. Al nana nali kacha. Ite mirandingo min soto do fana e dole soto. Well does not mean that ko is inamari se disagree. Gambia, until we can do a lot together. Alnga hormone mbunya samba nyim politikoka. Yes. Alinkana du nyoko mola. Sanko. Thank you. Musolba. Tira. Kijera. Ngamobe kontong. Thank you, Jali. Alka Jali moel. Yes. Alkana miss. Next Sunday, I will have a special guest too. Honorable Kayako, Nkontanda for left at the Patoko Tenyo Portal. Fonte. Left at the Patoko Tenyo Portal. And the Marco Jenabulo Sita and the Patoko Tenyo Portal. Bye first. Thank you, Amadou. Alama Ale Nijo. Ladoko Seneata. Thank you. Doko Seneata. Mali mutala janne bi ma hawja. Dafa. Thank you. Alanga nyokan. Ngo. Ndolbe America. For so many years. Ndafa ngotoronte. Molu minu bijam birinta magulu. Ngo mandin kolu ko. Doko seme ba kono nyaonya. Anene tikala bamboti. Ali wala. Ntol seme tamadula nyaonya. Nene tikala go bankodi ngo haninga mum passport reso. Go honorable o emefu. Lunkilindoro is na a strip. Something happened. Alanga koma jibe. Nkana nyina sula. Ntolle sa suo kono dada. Mama yukumalef. Ako muso. Imuso hana tata ke ya futuwala. Jese dia nyaonya na ya mandia. Abuka kontan. So it's the same thing. Nte sitake futuwala nyaonya. Nimbarin keli ya mandia. Nte kontanela. Sautuma kuwa mimbuko iya. Mbali kontonna. Ala baraka. Alka Jali moel. Thank you all. Another guest satola. Honorable. Ala baraka. Mbe danna alieja.